The Redhead unalivings is the media name used to refer to a series of unsolved unalivings of red-headed females in the US between October 1978 and 1992, believed to have been committed by an unidentified serial male unaliver. The unalivings believed to have been related have occurred in the states including Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. The unalivings may have continued until 1992. The victims, many remaining unidentified for years, were usually women with reddish hair whose bodies were abandoned along major highways in the US. Officials believe that the women were likely hitchhiking or may have engaged in S-work. Authorities are unsure of how many people were responsible for these unalivings, if they were all performed by the same person or people, and how many victims there might have been. It is believed that there may have been a total of 5 to 14 victims. Of the presumed victims, 4 were identified by November 2018. The suspect was informally called the Belt Strangler in 2018 because the territory where the bodies were found was part of the Bible Belt. On the 16th of September 1984, the body of a woman later identified as 28-year-old Lisa Nichols, who also used the last name Jarvis, was found along Interstate 40 near West Memphis, Arkansas. She was wearing only a sweater. She was found to have been a resident of West Virginia. Authorities weren't able to identify and contact her family members for some time, indicating that Nichols was estranged from them. She was not identified until June 1985, 9 months after she was unalived. She was identified through fingerprints. She was identified by a couple from Florida who had allowed her to stay with them for a period of time. She may have been unalived after leaving a truck stop along the highway and may have attempted to hitchhike. On the 1st of January 1985, the bound body of a woman was found near Jellicoe, Tennessee in Campbell County, down an embankment off the southbound side of Interstate 75. Her remains were in an advanced state of decomposition as she had been unalived approximately 72 hours before. She was unalived by strangulation. She was Caucasian and had shoulder-length curly red hair. Her age was estimated to be between 17 and 25, but possibly as old as 30. She was found clothed in a tan pullover, a shirt and jeans. Additionally, she had been wrapped in a blanket which was later found to have seminal fluid on it. Her eyes were green. She had freckles all over her body and various scars, including a burn mark on one arm, and she was 10 to 12 weeks pregnant when she was unalived. She had a partial upper denture holding 2 false teeth. It is believed that she was between 5'1" and 5'4" when she was unalived, and was approximately 110 to 115 pounds. On the 6th of September 2018, the Shelby County Sheriff's Office announced that she had been identified by fingerprints as Tina Marie McKinney Farmer of Indiana. She was 21 at the time of her unaliving and was last seen in Indianapolis, Indiana, accompanied by a trucker who was said to have been headed to Kentucky. She had 1 daughter prior to disappearing in 1984. She was reported missing by her family at the time, yet authorities in Indiana didn't enter her into the national databases. The state didn't have a law common to many other states requiring law enforcement to enter unidentified victims into its database. In 2019, DNA evidence convicted kidnapper Jerry Leon Johns as the man who unalived Tina Farmer in December 1984. Johns passed away in prison in 2015. He was previously convicted in 1987 of aggravated kidnapping, assault, and other crimes in the attack of a woman, Lisa Shackey, who he had picked up in Knox County, Tennessee, 2 months after Farmer's disappearance and unaliving. Shackey survived the attack after she was bound, strangled, and dumped along Interstate 40. Her testimony assisted in putting Johns behind bars. Like Farmer, Shackey had been choked with a piece of cloth, ripped from a t-shirt, bound, and left for dead inside a storm drain under Interstate 40 near Watt Road. Like Farmer and the other potential victims of the Redhead unalivings, Shackey also had red hair. On the 18th of December 2018, a grand jury in Campbell County, Tennessee ruled that Johns would have been indicted for the unaliving in Farmer's passing if he was still alive. On the 3rd of April 1985, the skeletonized partial remains of a young girl were discovered about 200 yards off Big Wheel Gap Road, 4 miles southwest of Jellicoe, Tennessee, in Campbell County near a strip mine. She was believed to have been unalived between 1 and 4 years. Her age was estimated to be between 9 and 15. She was found by a passerby. This is the 2019 reconstruction of Walker by the National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children. The cause of passing is undetermined, which does not rule out homicide. 32 bones, including her skull, were recovered from the scene. Her skull was complete enough to permit a facial reconstruction attempt. A necklace and bracelet made out of plastic buttons were found nearby, as well as a pair of size 5 boots and a few scraps of clothing. These items may or may not have belonged to her. Her hair and eye colour were unknown. Her age range is below the median for other victims, but the circumstances of her unaliving may connect her to them. Recent forensic analysis of her remains indicate that she was not native to the area which she was discovered. The test showed that she was likely born in Florida or Central Texas and had later lived in the Midwest, Rocky Mountain states, the Southwest, or the Pacific coast. On the 30th of August 2022, she was identified as 15-year-old Tracy Sue Walker of Lafayette, Indiana. The connection was made after Ortham Laboratories located a possible family member in the Lafayette area, and TBI intelligence analysis located several relatives there who confirmed they had a relative who disappeared in 1979. Tracy's mother had twice reported her as running away from the Eisenhower Court home in Lafayette. Tracy was last seen at the Tippecanoe Mall with a friend sometime in 1978. DNA samples were taken and submitted to the CODIS, from which the UNTCHI later identified Walker's remains. On the 31st of March 1985, the skeletonized body of a redhead female was found in Pleasant View, Cheatham County, Tennessee. She was believed to have passed away between 3 and 5 months previously from an unknown cause. However, her case is possibly linked to the redhead unalivings because her remains were found at the side of Interstate 24 between mile markers 29 and 30. Unlike some of the other victims, she was wearing clothing, a shirt, sweater, pants, and underwear. She was white, between 5 foot and 5 feet 2 inches tall. Her weight could not be determined. An examination of her teeth showed that she had some evidence of crowding and overlapping in her mouth. She was believed to have been between the ages of 31 and 40 at the time of her death. In July 2023, she was identified by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and Ortham, Inc. as 23-year-old Michelle Lavon Inman of Nashville, Tennessee, through forensic genetic genealogy. This is a reconstruction of Pilgrim by Carl Koppelman prior to her identification. On the 1st of April 1985, the body of a woman was found in a large white Admiral refrigerator in Grey Knox County, Kentucky, alongside Route 25. Her death was by suffocation. She had been dead for a few days and was nude except for 2 distinctive necklace pendants, one of a hat and other of a gold-coloured eagle, and 2 pairs of socks, one white and the other green with yellow stripes. There were reports that she may have been soliciting a ride to North Carolina over CB radio. 500 people attended her funeral, which was televised. The case was a local sensation in Grey, as the town was a quiet and sleepy place where little out of the ordinary usually happened. The refrigerator had a decal with the words Superwoman on the front. Distinguishing features on the body included a number of moles on the right side of her neck, near one ankle and below each breast, a yellow stained upper incisor and a scar and other marks on her abdomen, indicating that she had borne a child. Her eyes were light brown and her hair was red and nearly a foot long, which fit the pattern of the redhead unalivings. After the autopsy, she was determined to be between 24 and 35 and approximately 4 feet 9 or 4 foot 11. It's also possible that she owned a pair of boots found near the refrigerator. Several missing persons have been eliminated as possible matches to her. After this case was publicised in January 2013, the police revealed some tips, but it is unknown if they became solid leads. On the 1st of October 2018, the Knox County Sheriff's Office announced that the woman had been positively identified as Epsie Regina Pilgrim of Western North Carolina. A DNA match was made between her and her grown daughter, who said her mother disappeared when she was 6 weeks old. Pilgrim also had 4 other children. Priscilla Ann Blevins was a 27-year-old woman whose skeletal remains were found along Interstate 40 in Waynesville, North Carolina, on the 29th of March 1985. It is believed that she had been placed at the location around the time that she went missing a decade earlier. She had disappeared from her home in Charlotte, North Carolina on the 8th of July 1975. She was identified via DNA and dental records in 2012. No cause or manner of death was determined, and authorities have not specified the type of investigation surrounding her case. Her sister, however, commented that the circumstances of her discovery appeared to be involuntarily. She had reddish blonde hair. On the 25th of May 1981, law enforcement recovered a woman from low water crossing on Missouri Route M near Dixon, Missouri. She had suffered trauma to the face and was strangled with a pantyhose. She was clothed but without shoes and was estimated to be between 25 and 40. She had black hair but was nonetheless been tentatively linked to the other cases based on similarities in the modus operandi. Later named Pulaski Jane Doe, she was tentatively identified by the DNA Doe Project in December 2019 as Karen K. Knippers, who was 32 when she was unalived, with legal confirmation taking place on the 25th of May 2021. On the 13th of February 1983, the naked body of a white female was found alongside Route 250 near Littleton in Wetzel County, West Virginia. A pair of senior citizens reported the body, which they originally thought was a display mannequin. The body had been placed in the area recently as snow was on the ground but not on the body. Police said that the tire marks and footprints nearby indicated that she was likely transported to the site after death from another location. Their examination concluded that she died about 2 days previously and was not a victim of SA. Her cause of death was undetermined. Her hair was auburn. By 1985, she was linked possibly to the other redhead women found in the homicide victims whose deaths seemed to be related. With an estimated age of between 35 and 45, this victim appeared to have been older than the median of the other group women as victims of the serial killer. Her height was estimated to be 5 foot 6 inches and her weight was 135 pounds. Her eyes were presumed to be brown, although post-mortem changes may have affected eye colour. She had 2 scars, one typical of a cesarean section and another on the index finger. Her legs and underarms were shaven, indicating attention to grooming, not a characteristic of a hitchhiker. Witness described seeing a middle-aged white male, about 5 foot 10 inches and weighing 185 to 200 pounds, near the area where the body was found. She may have been seen alive in Wheeling, West Virginia as an employee or customer at a bar. West Virginia authorities are skeptical of whether she was related to the other women in the Redhead murders. This is a reconstruction based on Laurie's morgue photograph by Kyle Koppelman. 22-year-old Laurie Pennell, previously known as DeSoto County Jane Doe, was a woman found murdered on the 24th of January 1985 in Olive Branch, Mississippi. She was found by a truck driver driving southbound on US Highway 78, 100 feet east of Coldwater River Bridge at around 7:30 a.m. Her body was 20 feet south of the highway and her shoes, underwear and jacket were missing. She had been strangled with a ligature and possibly SA'd. On the 14th of April 1985, the body of a young white female was found in Greensville, Greene County, Tennessee. She was determined to have been killed between 3 and 6 weeks prior by a severe blunt force trauma and possibly a stab wound, and her body was found in an advanced state of decomposition. Police were able to obtain her fingerprints as well as DNA and dental information. She had been approximately 6 to 8 weeks pregnant, miscarrying shortly a week before her death. She was estimated to be 14 to 20, possibly as old as 25. She was approximately 5'4" to 5'6", with a weight of 130 to 140 pounds. She had a slight overbite and had some fillings in her teeth, showing she had dental care in life. Her fingernails had pink polish. Because she had light brown to darkish blonde hair with red highlights, her case was thought to have possibly been related to the Redhead murders. Authorities hoped in late April 1985 they would identify her body through fingerprints but were unsuccessful. 6 women were ruled out as possible identities of her. She was not identified until November 2018 when officials announced that she was New Hampshire native Elizabeth Lamott. She was 17 at the time of her death. She had disappeared on the 6th of April 1984. She was identified through a DNA match with a DNA profile obtained from Lamott's family by New Hampshire police in 2017. She had been staying at a group home in Manchester, New Hampshire, but never returned to her family once gaining furlough. Her family was initially asked for a DNA profile to compare it to the adult female victim of the Bear Brook murders. An unidentified girlfriend of the suspect, alias Rob Evans, was known by the same name as Elizabeth. Robert Evans was later revealed to be serial killer Terry Peder Rasmussen. Pulaski County Jane Doe was a woman who was found deceased on the 20th of April 1985 in Wrightsville, Arkansas. She was estimated to be 30 to 40 and had blondish red hair. Her cause of death has neither been released nor properly determined. Little has been made known or available about her case. Rowan County Jane Doe was a woman found on the 29th of August 1987 in Rowan County, Tennessee. She was estimated to be between 35 and 50, had naturally brown hair dyed reddish. Authorities determined that the body had been burned, likely deliberately to hinder identification efforts. She is believed to have been murdered. In 2023, the woman was identified as Betty Lou Wisley of Knox County. 19-year-old Stacy Lynn Charosky was found strangled to death in Rising Fawn, Georgia in late 1988. She was officially reported missing in January 1989, 4 months after she was last contacted. She informed her mother via telephone that she was planning to hitch rides from her current location to her home state of Michigan. Her remains were discovered along the east side of northbound I-59 near Rising Fawn in Dade County, Georgia, approximately 5 miles from the Georgia and Alabama state line. It was determined that she'd been essayed and strangled. She also had brownish, strawberry blonde, auburn or red shoulder-length hair with frosted ends. She was identified with assistance from Autumn Inc. in late March 2022. On the 6th of September 2022, her killer was identified as trucker and stunt driver Henry Frederick Hoss Wise, who would have been 34 at the time of the murder. He worked for the Western Carolina Trucking Company and commonly drove through Chattanooga and Nashville, Tennessee and Birmingham, Alabama. He had a criminal history in 3 states ranging from theft and assault to obstruction of a police officer. Wise burnt to death in a car accident at Myrtle Beach Speedway in South Carolina in 1999. Benson County Jane Doe was a woman who was found murdered on the 7th of May 1990 in Rogers, Arkansas. After she'd been shot, she was set on fire. A neighbour reported seeing a fire in the area in February 1990 but never went to investigate. Investigators believe that she may have been run over with a vehicle to make identification more difficult. She was identified on the 25th of October 2022 by Autumn Inc. as 28-year-old Donna Nelton, who was last seen in the autumn of 1989. It is believed that most of the victims remain unidentified due to their estrangement from family members or from not being native to the state in which they were found. Around 1985, soon after the Greene County victim was discovered, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Arkansas and Mississippi requested the FBI for assistance with their cases as inconsistencies existed. Victims were found both clothed and unclothed, and some had an actual encounter before their murders. During the conference, it was stated that 4 victims were found in Texas, and the victim found in 1981 in Ohio, nicknamed Buckskin Girl, later identified as Marcia King, were ruled out in 1985 as possible victims in the Redhead murders. A possible suspect emerged around 1985 when 37-year-old trucker Jerry Leon Johns attacked and attempted to strangle a woman with reddish hair. He left the victim lying near a highway thinking that she was dead. He was later dismissed in the Redhead murders case but was convicted of the woman's kidnapping in 1987. Despite his exclusion from the case, it was announced that DNA from Johns was matched to Tina Farmer through CODIS in 2016. He died in prison in 2015 at the age of 67. A grand jury decided that he would have been indicted for the slaying had he been alive. Johns was a trucker from Cleveland, Tennessee before his arrest. Another suspect, a 32-year-old trucker in Pennsylvania, was questioned after kidnapping and hiring a young girl in Indiana. She managed to escape before sustaining further injury. This suspect was also dismissed from the investigation after being questioned by Tennessee police. In 2018, an Elizabethan Tennessee teacher, Alex Campbell, offered a sociology class studying these murders. The class potentially identified 3 new victims and developed a profile of the killer.